Okay, let's try some watercolor techniques that might be good for middle ground, thinking about sort of that bridge between what's in front and really focused and what's far back, the sky. Let's think about how do we sort of create values, how do we create texture, how do we build up our layers. So this is called a flat wash, and what I'm doing is really just getting some paint on there, and then see how I'm drawing my brush over there? I'm kind of mopping it so that I get a really flat color. Don't do anything else until you've dried it. You can use the dryers or you can just go to the next thing. I'm going to go ahead and start the next one here. I'm going to use the ultramarine blue so you can see it's slightly different. And then over here on the flat wash, I'm just going to do another layer of flat wash. So you can see now I have two layers because one is doubled up, okay? Now let's try scumbling. This is really great for texture, things like bushes or trees. I'm going to start by just kind of giving the trunks of a tree and sort of a background scumble. Then I'm going to bounce back over here while one side is drying and add another layer. So now the house has three different values and it's starting to look more three-dimensional. Just each flat wash gets darker and darker between each one. Over on the right, I've taped off just put some tape together and drew a skyline. So I'm cutting that out to do a resist technique. Tape resist, this is called masking. That's why this is called masking tape. You're just putting it down so that it preserves the white of the paper and I can do something with it later. It's the same technique we're using around the edges. Now with the middle ground here, I'm adding some buildings and I'm keeping the edges really soft. I just mixed a purple on my palette so I can change the colors a little bit. But I am using wet on wet or maybe wet on damp or damp on damp to sort of let the colors bleed together. All right, while that dries, back up to the house, final layer. Now that house now has three different tones so that it looks more three-dimensional. I'm putting yellow on top, and what I want you to see is even though this is yellow, see how it looks kind of green? It will mix, okay? I mixed a green on my palette, and I want to show you a little bit here how I'm also adding light and dark areas, but I'm just using blue and yellow. Blue for dark outer areas, yellow for highlights, because blue and yellow make green. This is going to work really well. So I'm going to let it dry and come back to it. I took off the tape, so I'm back to paper, and I'm adding a foreground set of houses or buildings for this scene I've created over here, and you can see that it's still really white. It's not covered so that we're not having like on the house here where my yellow things turned green. I preserved it to keep it really clean. You can do that especially when you know you're going to want light colors and you don't want to have to paint over it. Okay, with the tree and the grass and the scumbling and the texture, I'm just adding more layers and I'm letting it be kind of imperfect, kind of textured, kind of scribbly, and that's helping it look more alive, more like it's not just a flat tree or a bush. It's natural with imperfections and all. The bottom right is just saved for you so that you can try something over or test something out or experiment. So I'm not going to use that box. You will use it for your choice. I've gone back to the city and you'll notice I'm adding darker colors, a layer here of shadows to really help those shadows create depth and push the shadows further away so that the lighter things come forward. Those highlights are really important and with watercolor really tricky because we don't have white. So do your best, learn from your experiences and enjoy. Yay.